on the walls in your calm voice. It's all.
Hey guys, welcome to TGS. Today we're going to have a look at this. This is a Weihrauch HW100 Bullpup. For many years, bullpups just kind of meant expensive guns with bad triggers. And then in recent years, that's changed quite a lot. And then Weihrauch brought this offering to the party. And I'm a huge HW100 fan, as you guys know. I've been using one for many years, and I really think they're about the best thing since sliced bread. But before I really draw any conclusions on this, I think it's only fair, even before shooting it, that we break it down and see how it's put together. Right, so, excuse me, this is a bit of presumption going on here more than anything. I don't actually know how to take one of these apart properly. This is a first for me. So it's a bit of a voyage of discovery. Take the stock. Right, crosspin out, front screw out, your grip comes off. That's quite cool. It wouldn't surprise me that if somebody soon, or it becomes a more regular thing to get aftermarket versions of these at some point, it's looks like quite a differently compatible part. What I'm most interested with this really is how they've done the trigger, because it's actually really good and really crisp. And a lot of the time these things don't measure up. So you've got your two-part stock there. That's very interesting. It's worth mentioning this is a rubberized wood stock, and if you pull it off you can actually look inside. No, there's going to be the best space to see. You can just about see a little bit of wood there coming through on the odd bit where it's been machined. Not that makes it any worse. In fact, it probably makes it stronger, better, and more durable. You have your plate on the inside so that you can screw your Picatinny rail to the front, if you do so desire. So here's where it starts to get interesting. That instead of any poorly engineered connector, they have used something that is essentially, if it looks like, we'll cock that back, a very similar trigger unit. I'm going to go grab a Weihrauch HW100 trigger unit. So it's a bit of a mix really if you look at it. As much as they've used a lot of original components, what they've done is look how to change it best, which is kind of cool. So there's your standard trigger and there's your other trigger. So as you can see, your CMX and your springs are all the same. What happens with this is when you pull this trigger blade, it lifts the back there, and when it's cocked, it sets it off. On this gun, when it's cocked, instead when you pull this trigger, it pulls this, which essentially your trigger would usually be attached onto here. Pulls it up, and away you go. Really nice. Where they've managed to use a thicker bar and put it through guidance, there's no room for flex, there's no strange kinks like there are on some other guns. It is a very nice, very simple system. I like that a lot. Now, let's have a little look at how it cocks. So when you pull this back plate off, usually you'd have a separate back plate that holds in your hammer and probe. You pull them off. I'm hoping that this now removes and is going to show us what's up. So this is just, again, a little ABS plastic shroud. And underneath, now you can see how you got your connection. Usually you'd have the side lever in here, and as you'd pivot it around a pin at the back here, this arm would open up and pull your gun accordingly. This is actually an entirely different machined action. You have a slot in the back, and when you pull your side lever, it has a direct connection on the front there to the top here that's going to pull your hammer back into cock, push it forward, and bang. Awesome, really beautifully engineered. And actually you can see why they took a bit of time bringing this to the table, because actually instead of bodging it, not that they were ever going to bodge it, but instead of perhaps doing less of a good job, they've really had a good think about this. You can see this has been through several prototype stages. And when you look at this top rail, everything about this gun is beautifully, beautifully engineered. What would be interesting potentially, although you're missing a couple of bits over and above a standard gun, It would be interesting if they allowed you to have like a converter, so you still had your pin in the back, you still had the ability to turn it back to a standard rifle and offered a 2-for-1 package. Although that would be an obscene amount of money, given that this gun already is touching 1,200 quid. You'd probably end up for an 1,800 quid gun that is a bullpup and not a bullpup. You might as well just buy the bullpup and not a bullpup intelligently. Anyway, satisfied with this engineering, which I think everyone should be, because that is really genuinely beautifully put together. Let's put it together and go and shoot it. Before we take this out and shoot it a little bit, let's talk through the spec. This is a HW100 Bullpup full length. They make a carbine version as well. This is capable of 100 shots per fill. That's pretty good. You can run it down below the reg, which actually gives you a few more shots if you want. So in terms of running, this runs just like a HW100. So you can watch our video on that and I'll tell you all about the reliability and how exciting it is. The weight is an interesting one. It's booked out, I think spec-wise, it says it's 8.25 pound or 8.125 pounds. It's not. This rifle is 8.25 pounds with the scope, which would put this rifle just under 8 pounds anyway. And moreover, that even that it is that way, it doesn't feel that weight at all, mostly because it just sits in like a nice solid lump. It's not unwieldy and large. 14-shot magazines, comes with 2 14-shot magazines. The side lever has the charging handle attached, which is a really nice feature, and it does surprise me they haven't sort of offered this as standard across their range yet, because I know a lot of people bolt these onto their guns. It comes with the new Weihrauch silencer. They've upgraded these since we did a last HW100 video. The internals are slightly better, but more importantly, it now offers a sleeker look, a different edge, and a slightly different design, because everybody was copying their design, which is always nice when someone copies your design because you're doing something right. But when you could buy a knockoff Weihrauch silencer for like 35 quid and the real ones were 60, that kind of made life difficult. So they have upgraded slightly. Not that the knockoff ones were ever quite as good, but it's nice to see them up and together. And they're actually branded Weihrauch now, which is pretty cool. Things that I like, the engineering and manufacture quality are unbelievably good. I think we kind of demonstrated that looking inside it. Not that I was expecting any less, but it's really pleasant to see that it is as good as one thought. What I do not like particularly is the grip, but I have quite wide hands. I just feel like it's a bit restrictive. It wouldn't have taken a lot to make this an adjustable bottom, like a target pistol grip, and that would just allow a hand to fit in there a little bit better. And it's not too bad when you're up on it, but I don't know, on a gun of this caliber, wouldn't it be nice to have that little bit extra? But again, at 1,140 to 1,160 pounds, whatever they retail at the moment, I guess it's about matching it to availability next to affordability, which is quite a big thing. You know, they could have pitched this up against the FX Crown in that sort of 1,800 quid range, but they didn't. And I suppose that at least makes it more affordable and less of a ridiculous purchase over the standard HW100, because the standard HW100 is brilliant and still under £1,000. Anyway, it's enough talking. In terms of scope, what I've got on here is a Hawk Frontier 1-inch. I've been using a 30mm version for a little while, and it's a fantastic bit. And I have had this inch on here, and I've taken this out for a little bit of a play before, and it's unreal actually for what it is. Oh, we had a PARD unit on there, we've taken it out. We had this scope on another rifle before this, and it, I must admit, is really very, very nice. Which I suppose you'd expect. I think we see a lot of people, you know, I know a lot of people will buy a rifle like this and stick a 100 quid scope on it, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the nice glass certainly makes the whole experience a little bit nicer. Anyway, enough chatting, to the trees. Okay, so first things you'll notice that actually loading this, putting this magazine in when the rifle's sort of tucked in the crook of your hand is really easy. So that goes in, and before you know it, actually your rifle is bang on point. I must admit, the only thing I dislike about this entire rifle is the safety catch. It's ambidextrous, it's not the end of the world, and you can drop your hand back and do it, but it's the only thing that feels a bit odd about this rifle's design. So first off, this gun fills you with that same confidence. It imbues you with the same confidence that a HW100 gives any owner. you know that it's going to be accurate, you know there's going to be no hiccups, and you know that trigger is going to be crisp, beautiful, and reliable. Things that I like, engineering wise, this is perfection. To load the mag, to fit the mag in, everything to do with this repeatability is fantastic. Things that I think maybe could do with improving, or perhaps aren't to my personal tastes. This grip is wonderful, but perhaps could do with having some adjustability. This side lever with the drop down arm to cock it is wonderful, but also perhaps, if you'll watch, it could just do with being another sort of inch further forward. Not that it's any less accurate for it. And my only real qualm with the whole thing, these other things are just, if it was a custom built rifle for me, I'd be mildly unhappy with it, is this safety catch. But what were they going to do? Not put one on, or perhaps lose out on the quality trigger or the cocking mechanism? Nah, of course they won't. But hey, just picking holes for holes' sake, really. That's about the only thing I can find I dislike. Everything else about this rifle is beautiful and accurate, and like I said, it really helps to have a decent scope on there. The end. Guys, these are worth the money, and that's as much as I can say for them. Is when they first came out, I remember thinking that's quite a lot of money, and I've shot a few and I've enjoyed shooting this one out and about for the last couple of days. It is accurate, it has as much power as any other air gun. It just is that little bit cooler. Sasha made a good point that it is not the most handsome of rifles, and I can kind of agree. You know, it is not what one would call an elegant or beautiful gun, but I would challenge you to find a bullpup out there that it is conventionally elegant. It's not a bad looking gun, it is just what it is, and it is beautifully engineered. Guys, thank you very much for watching, take care, goodbye, and we'll see you next time.